point. This episode is brought to you by our patron supporters. Today's patron of the day is Monica. Patrons get the show always ad-free and access to the extended episode with bonus content. If you don't want to miss all of that, go to patreon.com/calltheline. That is patreon.com/calltheline.
Last week on the bonus show, we were doing what is it called? Never Have I Ever. We did that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We were coming up with them all ourselves. I found an amazing list of them.
You
and so
did?
now I want to do Never Have I Ever with this way better than what we were trying to pull off. So that's what I think we're going to do. Oh, that's a nice hard stop. Bada boom. I guess we then go straight to the intro. Welcome, everyone, to a very special live episode where we're going to take calls for The Line as a Podcast. If you have... Now, listen, here's the thing. We're also experimenting with a thing that is this vertical format over here. We're not always going to be doing calls on The Line Has a Podcast. This is kind of introducing everybody to two things at once. One, over on my channel, Jimmy Snow, we're going to start experimenting with the vertical video format, but it's just an extension of The Line. We can't be having too many things going out only on The Line, otherwise you get rid of algorithm and stuff. And it turns out my channel over here with its 350,000 whatever subscribers, that works out pretty well for us. So if we are somebody who's usually in your feed and you like call-in shows, definitely check that out, because over here on Jimmy Snow, or if you're listening later on Jimmy Snow, on the channel, we're going to be doing more call-in shows over here, often featuring me, maybe after a while, not necessarily me. The funny thing is I almost changed the name of this channel to something more related to The Line. And if you do that, they take away your verification badge. And apparently there's no being sure you'll ever get it back. And sometimes it takes forever. Like The Line, they won't even offer me a verification badge. I don't get it at all.
Wow. That's really annoying.
It's really frustrating. But anyway, this is us doing the vertical thing, which is different. Kind of. I experimented with it a little bit when I tried to do a little more sometime show all alone. That wasn't an enjoyable experience for me, though. It was way better as a team effort when we were doing it together. But now here we are. And look, we want to take those calls. So if you have a call, if there's something you'd like to call in and debate us on, 720-619-2288, 720-619-2288, or if you otherwise have a question, what kind of things have you seen? So generally, over on The Line as a Podcast, for people who are watching or listening for the first time, we are talking mostly about the news. And I wanted to hear, because on The Line, we have a show on Tuesdays called Chewed Gum that is supposed to be for like advancing women's issues. It's specifically about women deconstructing from religion and the religious influence of patriarchy and everything. My co-host today, Alyssa, is one of the hosts over there. And I just wanted to know, Alyssa, do you feel as sure as they do, it would seem, that Katy Perry and Gayle King and others have advanced women way further forward by going on their little trip in their favorite rocket ship?
That was so embarrassing to watch. That was so embarrassing. It was embarrassing to watch Katy Perry get off of this ride that she paid for and like kiss the ground. You were up there 11 minutes. You were up there 11 minutes. It's taken me longer to orgasm.
Yeah.
11 minutes.
Yeah. I'm going to start making a list of things that takes me longer than 11 minutes on average. Like kissing the ground was the like, oh my God, I missed it. And it didn't even start with space travel. Like obviously astronauts have done that too, but it actually started with ocean travel, because it used to be that you had to, if you wanted to cross the world, you'd be on a boat for months at a time. And so people would kiss the ground because they missed the ground so much. You don't miss the ground. Like when you come home
in
to your dog,
minutes?
so you're just like, I'm traumatized by how I went to the grocery store and left my dog. So I missed you so much. I practically forgot what you look like and smell like. No, you don't.
Right.
That's insane.
It's also like most of the people who are on that ship live in LA. It takes longer to get to the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah, I found it kind of funny. I didn't know. Wait, so are you telling me she wasn't like invited? It wasn't. I thought it was like an intentional PR stunt of like, oh, you know who everybody loves because we don't check Reddit these days? Katy Perry. Everyone loves Katy Perry. So let's invite her onto one of our. She paid to be on that ship?
Literally, no one likes Katy Perry. Let's just get that out of the way.
What?
I think people like Katy Perry in like a you're at a wedding and like Last Friday Night comes on, like, and then people like Katy Perry, but people don't like Katy Perry. I don't think. Maybe some people do, but no one that I respect.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I did see also there was some like kind of silly things where it was like Gayle King was upset that people weren't referring to them as like astronauts and calling what they did a ride. And she was like, but she tried to kind of make that, which here's the funny thing. Like now you're hearing it from us. We will call out everything as sexist over here that is sexist. Cause in her mind, she was like, well, when the guys do it, you call them astronauts. When the guys do, I'm like, no, when Elon does it, when they do it on these when Shatner did it, I wasn't like, yo, he finally made it to space. No, but it is a ride. It's a silly little ride.
Yeah.
You are not comparable to the people who went to the moon, who went to the space. You aren't comparable at all. And by the way, like we just talked about 2 astronauts for the last several months because of Elon Musk and Trump lying about the nature of them being stuck up there. And no one had a problem calling the woman, it was a man and a woman up there, an astronaut. No, like that was the actual thing. Y'all went on a roller coaster essentially in the shape of a spaceship. Like you went to the lowest Earth orbit. I don't even know if they got to lower Earth orbit. Is that where it was? I know they got to weightlessness, but it was like the very lowest you could be. I don't know. I just thought that was like, this idea that we were going to look at them and be like, wow, these rich people with way too much fucking money did something while the rest of us are like stockpiling shit because we're like, these tariffs are going to fuck us even more. Eggs are going to cost human eggs. Like you, for a dozen eggs, you're going to have to actually sell an egg in the future.
Yeah. Right.
That's where we're headed. It was just a wild week.
So embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. And also there were people who were doing calculations. I think it wasn't honestly that expensive. I mean, considering they like literally went up into space, I thought I saw it was like $150,000 per person. I don't know if that's totally accurate. So like, don't quote me on that, but all of the money that they spent doing that little 11-minute trip, that was essentially a PR stunt. They could have just used that money for literally anything else.
Right.
For literally anything else. There was like actually no reason.
I will say, if the thing had blown up, all the conspiracies that there would be now because Jeff Bezos' girlfriend was on it. Like sometimes I like to live in, like I'll just go into my mind and I'll be like, I'm in the alternate universe where it exploded. Listen, and then as far as a group of, it was 8 people, a rocket with 8 people on it, they wouldn't be the 8 people that I would want the rocket to explode. And not that I would ever feel that way.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my top 8 for sure.
Yeah. What a rude question. But I've also literally made a dedicated video to it. Somebody in the live chat, who the fudge are you, dude? So it is a very rude question. Just but literally it's the last video on here on my channel is about all the weight I've lost. And no, I'm not on Ozempic. I've lost about over 80 pounds now in under a year. I think the weight loss really started actually about this time last year. And now it's kind of evened out, and it has had to do with health issues, but it's kind of like the health issues are a problem. The weight loss itself is technically like healthy. My diet has become so restricted that I'm trying, my brain is like shorting over that's become a normal thing to just ask.
Yeah.
It's not like, obviously you guys get worse. Yours is like all the time too. You guys do an OnlyFans. You guys get that question unsolicited all the time, but it is kind of I don't know. It is a rude question to ask. Are you specifically on Ozempic? Like, do you take this medication? I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
You know, it's a tough thing. I think just in general, I think it should be a rule that we just don't talk about other people's bodies ever.
Yeah. Then again, I'm like, objectify me. I need
it. Right. but I think also like I know that if I have kids, or I'm around any children at any moment in time, I will never, ever, ever talk about my own body. I'll never talk about, I don't think I look good in what I'm wearing. I don't think I'll never talk about like needing to diet, I ate so much yesterday, I'm going to eat a salad. Like I will never have conversations like that around children ever. I think it's just like it just creates a conversation that doesn't need to be there. Same with adults. Like,
Oh, mods,
just
you don't
need to talk about fam.
mods don't need to
Oh, no.
delete people asking that, but it is just kind of rude. But no, I tried GLP-1s very briefly like 2 years ago, and ended up they aren't compatible with my health issues. They make things very unpleasant. So I think I lost like 10 or 15 pounds on them. Then not only did it all come back, I ended up gaining more when I got off of them. But no, in the last year, it's all been this jazz. I don't remember what we were talking about.
We're talking about the space travel, the legendary, iconic space trip.
So what
My favorite part
people
was
would you put on a rocket that was going to explode? No, I'm just kidding.
it
Go
was
ahead.
going to explode.
No, don't
that would
really
be
answer
so
that.
easy.
Yeah, but
that would
we
be
can't
so
answer that
easy.
on air. We cannot. As tempted as we both are, we just aren't allowed.
No, I know. But it's also, I'm not even that tempted because it's almost like a boring question at this point, because like it's not even like everyone knows like what. I think people could probably figure out the 8 pretty quickly. But one of my favorite parts of that whole journey was ironically, was Katy Perry with her stupid flower. Just like holding a flower. That was really dumb. But there is a woman, and I started to look up her name and then I got sidetracked. But there's a woman who was on that flight who had, she was at, I believe, Harvard, and was going to be she was going to be an astronaut. That was her plan. She wanted to be an astronaut. And she was sexually assaulted.
Yeah, sorry, you were probably going there. I'm stealing your pick. Yeah.
She was sexually assaulted and decided to instead pursue law to try and create like better systems for people who have been sexually assaulted. And she was on that flight, and she deserved to be there. And she might be the only fucking one who deserved to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Even after all of that, you're on Ozempic. I literally detailed completely in the last episode I did on here, not only how my weight lost, but actually talked about the medical issue I'm suffering, because I think more people need to know about it. I almost named it, I don't remember what I named it, but I almost named the episode like, if you have chronic diarrhea, I'm begging you to watch this episode, because a lot of people are being misdiagnosed with things like IBS and other things by GIs, because they are unaware that anywhere from 40 to 60% of people actually have something else. And now 4 times a day, I drink a powdered resin. I'm not even joking. I drink a powdered resin 4 times a day. I have a bottle next to me right now of where I mixed it. It looks gross because it turns the whole thing orange. And I will be drinking that seemingly every day for the rest of my life, at least 4 times a day. No, I'm also not on Manjaro. Man, these people are just, you guys are insanely rude people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't get it. I don't get how your life is this boring and stuff. And again, it's like, it's weird that you want to hold to this as though I'm sitting there being like, and I lost it all myself, and I'm really proud of the weight loss and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I am way enjoying looking better, feeling better in certain regards, sleeping better, being more physically fit, being more physically active. Probably the biggest turnaround and biggest change in the last year that led to so much health changes wasn't only finally addressing this medical issue correctly with the right medicine, with this resin that I have to drink, but also was finally getting really, really, really severe sleep apnea diagnosed. And that changed a whole lot of it. Someone said Jimmy's on cocaine. Not anymore. Those are the days. Those are the days.
Those were the days.
But no, I'm not here sitting and being like, no, it was totally like trying to deny something and take credit for something I didn't actually do, because I wouldn't recommend people get healthy the way I've quote unquote gotten healthy, because I wouldn't even call it healthy. I have to supplement all my vitamins and stuff because I can only eat like 4 foods. Literally, that's it. Like 4 foods. And so no, it's not pancreatic insufficiency. It's a condition called bile acid malabsorption. Anyway, we have a phone number up still, 720-619-2288. What we want to do really is take calls from people who disagree with us on, it can be political issues, it can be religious issues. Obviously, you have here Alyssa, this amazing sex coach who is also advocating for women and women's pleasure, women in society, the deconstruction of women from religion. And you have me, a loud asshole. And I'm ready. I'm ready to fill my part. I'm ready to fill a loud asshole, I think was where it was going. And
oh my God.
yeah, anybody who wants to, by the way, you people who want to keep insisting that I am or am not doing something with a certain medication, certain drugs, call in. Call in. Let's actually debate the whole thing online. I don't care what you guys want to call about. But obviously the news this week, the biggest news was the total undermining, and essentially we are losing a grip on due process in the country because it actually doesn't matter to me. I don't know. I don't think there is a lot of very good evidence that the individual that they deported actually was a member of MS-13. There seems to be some good evidence that there have been issues of domestic violence in the past, though nothing for which he has been charged. In fact, between Trump and this man, the only person who is a convicted criminal has been Donald Trump. But it's my bigger problem is I wouldn't care if he was. I wouldn't care if he was a criminal. I wouldn't care if he was MS-13 regarding bypassing the due process prior to deporting, prior to putting in prison. And by the way, this prison that we're sending people to, it's wild the way it's not just a matter of the difference between whether or not you care about other people versus yourself. It's the way in which people are so indifferent to like, oh, if you've committed any crime of any kind, you deserve any level of punishment. Like a truly inhumane, gross way they make the people exist in those prisons there. And it seems to be that right now we are sending people there a lot for having affiliation based on tattoos with no regard for how much involvement they may have had or not and what the actual crimes were and what those crimes would be worth. The dude who runs El Salvador brags about being like, I'm like a hot dictator. That's his whole like claim to fame, is that he is a dictator. And the people there like him because, yeah, sure, he got crime off the streets, but also opened up inhumane, just humanity's issues in general, things that we really have to consider whether or not we are okay with that. Anyway.
Yeah. I think in general, this whole situation and really a lot of like what I think the big issue is dialing up to like, or laddering up to like a lack of empathy in a way that feels calculated. It's like, I don't know if it's that people, there's so much happening with human beings and so much that is so incredibly wrong that it feels like the entire conservative party is like, I'm just going to worry about my own shit actually, and not worry about anything else. And it feels, it's just so calculated, a calculated lack of empathy. That's just because if any of these people had a friend or a family member, someone that they actually know who was sent wrongfully, that they would be, I'm sure, in shambles. And if they aren't, it's because they have literally created a calculated lack of empathy for themselves because it's easier.
Yeah. That number again, it's weird. There are people in the chat who said that they believe in God and are going to call in to defend it, and yet they have not yet called in. We do have a call on the line that we'll get to here in just a second, but 720-619-2288, any of you people who are usually very confident on a keyboard, I'd love to actually hear your voice. Let's actually talk about it. To the person who had asked whether or not I'm ever going to go on the Whatever podcast and debate someone called Jim Bob, why would I go on a different podcast today? I run a debate platform and I'm familiar enough with them to know you can feel like ours is unbalanced, which when we do formal debates, we're going to make sure that it is very well fair. But surely there is something unbalanced between like me having a mute button and them not whatever else. But I will say whatever amount of unbalanced it can be over here, nothing compared to the unbalanced nature of how they run things over there. I don't have a team of my buddies with laptops ready to pipe things into my ear or however it is there. Maybe it's just the people sitting next to them. But it is funny how I'm trying to remember which debate tactic it is called, but where you're like basically creating and trying to bring in a very limited set. Charlie Kirk is huge for this. Very limited set of data and and not the actual well scrutinized interpretations thereof, to where it's just like, oh, well, here's an obscure study, here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you this is what the things are. And it's all sort of supposed to be like, here's the things you weren't expecting, very specific to respond to. And no one is going to say it's sufficient to say like, well, no, I would need to see the study and then also see what the like critiques of those studies are and what they are collectively. It's like this, I just listened to the Science Versus on that podcast that is convincing a lot of people. They basically took on telepathy on Science Versus, because there is a podcast on telepathy that is convincing a lot of people that telepathy exists, that it's real. Are you familiar with this thing?
I listened to like the first 2 or 3 episodes of that podcast. It's super interesting. And now I really want to listen to the Science Versus episode, because it's like the podcast is based on a group of people who have other like stuff going on. I don't remember if they are autistic folks or just nonverbal.
Nonverbal and on the spectrum, a lot of them. And spoiler alert, it is all bunk. It is all...
It's very like I don't even know how to describe, like, you know how like what was that one podcast that everyone was obsessed with, and it was a crime one, but it was like so well produced and I mean, a proper documentarian who has become a believer in this and has ignored actually that this sort of thing has actually been studied for a long time, and they've already been able to explain it. They've already figured it out. And that's sort of what they go through in the Science Versus podcast. I don't want to like spoil it or ruin it for anybody, but it definitely is not, there's no telepathy actually going on. But yes, it is a very, very respected documentarian behind it all. So it's well produced. And when you hear it at first, it sounds very compelling. Even I remember when I was listening to it, I'm acting like it wasn't that long ago. It's like 2 days ago. But when I was listening to it, when they were first introducing it and saying like, and then they show this happen and they showed this happen, and I'm like, whoa, that would be extremely compelling. That's wild that that's going on. Like, wow, I'm impressed by that. And then now it's like, you hear the rest and you're like, fuck, I was compelled by part A of the podcast about the other part. Not that I was like a believer, but I was like, wow, how would you figure that out? And then they do. I felt similarly, where like I wasn't like convinced or writing home about it, but I was listening to it and it was super compelling, like very well produced. Obviously, like they have the music cued at the right times and all this kind of stuff. And it was super interesting. I didn't end up finishing it, so it wasn't interesting enough, but it was really interesting. Now I'm really excited to listen to the Science Versus, because I can't wait to hear what they love that podcast pulled together. It's so great. I'm so glad you introduced me to it.
We like talk about that podcast on this show, maybe too much.
Yeah, like, we're just promoting them. This is a podcast to promote Science Versus.
Here's our podcast about podcasts we like. That's good. Anyway, we'll go ahead and take a call, but reminder, 720-619-2288, 720-619-2288. If you are wanting to debate with us, argue with us. Is this a live short? No, it's just a live vertical, but it does end up in people's shorts feed. And we would love, the challenge is down. If you are a Christian, if you are a conservative, if you are a men's rights activist, you are an incel, that you want to have an actual well-reasoned discussion/debate about your beliefs, I'm here to do it. And I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to make sure, as we are doing more of these shows, the vertical debate shows on this channel, Jimmy Snow, please do go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am not really sure what's happening in the notes here, so I can't promise everybody that this is, I don't actually know whether this calls antagonistic or what. So, or if it's like, it almost looks like they're just trying to bypass emailing me about something. I don't know. I don't actually know what's going on at all. So let's talk to David. David, you are on the line with Alyssa and Jimmy. What's going on, David?
Hi there.
Hello.
What I wanted to call about was earlier. There was a video posted by Forrest, and I forget the other host name, but the topic was if being transgender was a mental illness. And my comment that I got flagged for hate speech was, if being transgender is a mental illness, so is religion, or being religious.
Well, I mean, who are you suggesting flagged that comment for hate speech?
I don't know. All I got was when I logged back into YouTube later on. I got a message that one of my messages was deleted and I got a mark for hate speech. When I looked in it, that was the only one that had been removed.
Yeah. So for the record, we don't do like that's not a thing we
No,
even
I'm
could
not.
control on our end.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying anything against you guys, and I don't think you would.
Yeah.
It's just I was trying to call in to see what your thoughts on it was necessarily, or maybe this was just a bad call. I don't know.
Are you wanting my thoughts on them doing that, whether that was justified, or our thoughts on whether or not that sentence is true? That if being trans is, what was it? If being trans is a mental illness, then so is being religious?
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, either of them, honestly.
Well, first of all, no, I don't agree with that. That's not a well-reasoned combine. Like, I don't agree with that. But no, obviously, I don't think your comment should have been deleted for hate speech. But no, I wouldn't agree with looping them together in that way is almost what they're wanting to do, is to tell you that like it is an ideological belief. And in the same way that you can't force me to celebrate Easter, which is today, which maybe that's a part of the issue with getting theist callers today, or just the fact that they are so scared.
Oh, that's
They're so
definitely a
scaredies.
part of it. They're all
Yeah.
celebrating. He has risen.
He has risen. I don't fucking stop the world every time I get an erection. Anyway, they want that comparison of it being, this is why they use the phrase gender ideology, right? And so it's actually, I think, important to keep those categories together. I know you were being kind of tongue in cheek. So I'm saying as a one-off, I wouldn't be like, okay, you know, whatever, as a comment, that is what it is. It's not accurate, but it might be like a zinger, if you will. But no, I wouldn't actually defend that as a statement and be like, well, how is it okay for trans people to believe that, but you believe in whatever, 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 because then they can just go with separation of church and state. You can't, you know, a Muslim can't come here and make me pray with him, and you can't make me use your pronouns because you can't make me operate in your religion, which, by the way, is an actual comment we get people saying all the time who don't want to be supportive of trans people and their identities. They will, we get comments all the time of like, you can't make me honor your religion. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, first of all, it's not a religion. And second, you're right. We can't make you do anything, but we can help guide you toward what would make you look like less of an asshole, and you're running straight the other way.
Okay. That makes me a little bit more at ease or whatnot, because I get really irritated at the I don't know, the bigotry or whatnot that's out there, and I probably shouldn't have made the comment, but I get impulsive.
Sure, I get it. Is there a reason why you do think that it would be a good comparison? I mean, if you want to defend it, I'll hear you out and tell you if I agree.
I'm not sure, because like I have a lot of hatred for religion, not necessarily anything specific. It really rubs me the wrong way.
Did you grow up religious?
I did. I was Lutheran, and then when I moved to Utah, I became Mormon. So we have that together.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you became a Mormon?
About my it was when I was dating my ex-wife, and I got baptized to be closer to her and her family.
Yeah. How old were you?
24, 23, 24.
Not to, I mean, you don't have to basically admit how your age, but how long ago was that? You can skip that one if you don't want to tell everybody. You don't have to, but
almost 20 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so about 20 years ago, you became a Mormon. How many years ago did you leave?
I am still part of the church.
Yeah, me too, but we both left.
I don't go. Yeah. I would probably say maybe about 8 to 10 years ago.
So in your heart, basically, you left 8 to 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, it is interesting because there is a sort of resentment. Like you use the word hatred. I resent and hate what religion does. A lot of religions do across the world, but I also think that I've now been doing this sort of side of everything that I have a little bit of a better understanding, I think, of why those things are happening, of why people are drawn to religion and what they're doing. And so I'm finding myself more resenting specific movements or specific individuals who are responsible for. I have a lot more bitterness toward people like Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson than the Catholics they are inspiring to be more Catholic. And so I feel you on that. It is interesting how when you leave Mormonism, I do feel like if you leave a high control religion, that universal hatred can be a little bit more intense. It's sort of an interesting thing I've noticed, but it's not altogether surprising. Are you still pretending? Are you still going to church? What's the deal there?
I don't know if I want to get into that necessarily.
Okay, you're just worried
If
somebody
that's
might.
okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I don't want this to come back to me.
I got you. I
Yes.
got you. All right, David. Do you have any questions for Alyssa? Alyssa, do you have any questions for David before we move on?
No.
I have
Go ahead,
one,
David.
but I don't know if it would be appropriate here necessarily, or if I should call chewed gum more. It's on sex.
Go for it. While we're here.
So I am extremely over-sexualized,
Okay.
if that makes
In
sense.
wh-
Yeah, not really.
In
You'll have to. It
in
could
what
mean a few
way?
things. Yeah.
Okay, so this is very personal, but I am open, so I will say it to everybody that's watching. For like the last 25 years, I have probably masturbated at least twice a day.
So you more mean you're
Okay.
hypersexual.
Yes,
I got you. You have a very high libido.
yes. So, and I realized that doing that much, I could be damaging my body. The fact that I
You're
use
not-
porn.
You're not damaging your body. You're not damaging your body.
I'm not.
Your body can
No.
handle
Okay.
twice a day, buddy.
Yeah, no, you're not damaging your
Well,
body.
like-
Unless you're feeling physical pain, you're not damaging your body.
Oh, I haven't felt that since my teen years.
Yeah, as long as you're not
Uh,
experiencing any pain and you're
Mhm.
doing any sort of self-pleasure because it's fun and enjoyable for you, you're not doing any damage to your body.
Yeah. The worst you'll get is
Okay.
depending on how you are doing it, you can reduce your sensitivity to other sexual activities. So, like, basically, they say don't death grip. As a guy, you shouldn't do the death grip
What's
jerking
that?
off. Basically, where you're dry handing it and you're like doing a tight pinch around the. Are we allowed to talk about this stuff? And you're basically it's like the fastest way to climax for most guys. It's just kind of just tells your body
Okay.
like get it out of there. And doing too much of that can reduce your sensitivity toward other forms of sexual content. Other forms of sexual. What word was I going to use? Convex. No, I have no idea what word I was going to use. Other types of sex. It can desensitize you to other things, and so it is better for you overall to try and keep it more similar. The sensations more similar to other sexual sensations, so that you're not able to. Somebody's telling me I'm not right about what death grip is. That's what I always told what it was called. Anyway, go on.
I don't know. I don't really have much else other than that. It's surprising. I thought that I read somewhere that if you overdo it in any way, you can actually damage your body by the release of the chemicals during
No.
orgasm. But
No,
that's
definitely not.
kind of relieving,
There's
I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of information that flies around that gets people to just want to not be less sexual or want to encourage people to be less sexual. Sexual pleasure is really demonized in culture, especially in religious environments. It's like people are very scared of sexuality. And so A lot of that information flies around, but it's not true. Anytime that you want to masturbate and it is safe and, you're in a space where you're not violating the consent of anyone else, it's completely fine to do. And I heard you even start to talk a little bit about using porn for masturbating too. And that's there's a lot of different stuff with porn to look at. In general, porn is not an unhealthy thing to experience. There are some unrealistic expectations that get set by using pornography, but it also can be a really helpful educational tool. So there's a lot there, but in general, using pornography is not bad for you. Masturbating is not bad for you. These are all things that the human body is built to experience. And as long as you're not feeling any physical pain, and in terms of the pornography, you're able to get through all of the things that you have to get through in a day, and it's not interrupting that for you in any meaningful way, then you're welcome to use whatever kind of content that you want to.
People are suggesting in chat that I meant contact or some conduct. You're all wrong. Conquest was what I was going
Conquest.
for. Whatever other sexual conquest. Yeah, I'd say the only thing with porn can be one, if you can so they've already proven porn addiction doesn't exist, but you can become sort of conditioned to, this is the thing I most associate with climaxing. And so you can get to a point where when you are then trying to have sex with other people, if you don't also have porn present, it can be more difficult to get yourself in that mindset. But this is true of everything. Everything that is mindset related. And these are the things that then people try to exaggerate into things like porn addiction, which, as I said, doesn't exist. So it's kind of a matter of even in the concept of quote unquote jerking off too much, that's not a real concept in and of itself. However, if you do have a partner whose sexual needs you are very interested in and you care about their sexual fulfillment, and the amount of your masturbating is also reducing the amount of sexual conquests you're having with them, then that's different. Then that is affecting something else. And so if you crave that intimacy, you want them to crave that intimacy. And it's kind of the same thing with porn. It's just that way.
And even with porn, and with the example that you used, a lot of the times, and the reason why porn addiction is not recognized anymore by the DSM is because it's an indication that the addiction is not to porn. It's an indication of a different psychological thing that's happening. If you are so addicted to porn that you are avoiding intimacy with your partner, there's a different diagnosis that you should be given. That is not, you're not addicted to the porn itself. You're experiencing something else. So anyway, porn is great and you can learn a lot from porn. And I highly recommend looking at ethical porn, which is porn that was made where you can be sure that every person who was involved in producing the porn was paid appropriately. You can be sure that the people who are in that video gave consent to everything that happened in the video. They've consented to that video being distributed. There's someone being so loud outside and it's driving me nuts. And
going to LA.
I know, it's the worst.
It's a loud state.
Oh God, it really is. But yeah, there are websites like Cheeks, Get Cheeks. It's CHEEX.com. And there's Bellessa too. They make ethically made porn, or get it directly from a sex worker on OnlyFans.
Or if you want to go full blown narcissist like I have, because I take narcissism very seriously and I'm now pro, at least according to the comment sections. The most fun, I think the most fun is your own stuff. When you have a partner.
I agree.
Even with a partner, watching the two of you together with them is
great.
So fun. So just
it's really fun.
Little thoughts out there.
Anyway, we really co-opted this whole call, David. I'm sorry.
No, I watch a lot of your videos and I've gotten accustomed to letting you guys speak, and I know you go back and forth between the hosts, and I know, and I've gotten to wait and wait for an actual break, because I know that there's the what is it, the not the pause, but the time period in between us talking and whatnot, the
lag.
I can't.
I gotta tell you, but I gotta tell you,
it's an issue.
David, let's just go to the next issue because of the interesting topics, how the calls work on a very meta level is not one of them. So
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thank you guys, and I guess I'll just
Cool.
let myself go now.
Thanks, David.
You guys have fun.
Thank you, David. Bye.
I already let myself go.
Oh my God. I would disagree with you.
Well, recently I've gotten so pretty.
Yeah.
People are not hesitant to let me know that they insist it must be the case that I am on Ozempic. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk to, we'll see on these. It's funny because I didn't actually put a web link in the description here, which means y'all are using the web link from the line. So we'll give it a shot. We'll see if you people are going to be good. We'll find out. Are you going to be good for... No,
You're gonna be good.
I was going to make
Gonna
it
be good
creepy.
for
I
us.
was going to
We're
make it
gonna
a
use
little weird.
Yeah, I was very close to also joining in on making it weird. But that's what you and I do. That's unfortunately our pattern.
Yeah. All right, Kenneth, are you going to be good? Kenneth, you're on the line. I have a feeling.
Hi. Sorry, I
Hi.
was
Hello.
working and I was actually calling into the next show. I was just super early. But yeah, I'm surprised. Usually there's like a filtering thing and they talk to me.
No, we used a robot today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the topic for this show, but I was actually calling for the next show. But I mean, I guess I could talk here if that's, I think there's some overlap maybe.
Yeah, you must be calling like an hour and a half early. Next show doesn't start till 7 Central. But it's all good. And you can call both if you really want to. Are you now on my end? It doesn't say whether you're a theist or an atheist. Which one are you?
I'm an atheist, but I have called before about various other topics. But I find it very useful calling in and getting kind of different perspective on things. So,
well, succinctly, what is
today's show? I mean, I don't know because I'm on the line. What's the topic for this one? I might have actually a question.
It's always the same thing. Yeah, I actually here's the deal. I am gonna let you go, but it would be. The reason I'm going to let you go is I'm not just looking for any call to just have a call. So the topic of today's show would have been where, as we said earlier in the show, we want people to call in who are going to defend being religious, who are going to defend conservatism, the Trump administration, patriarchy, their incel types of beliefs, their men's rights activism would be the number one thing we were looking for.
No, I'm like complete opposite. So I'll just wait. Sorry, I called so early. I didn't read the time correctly. The time zone difference, I think.
It's all good. Thanks, David.
But I'll continue to listen, and if I think of anything, I'll always call back. Thank you.
Cool.
I'm gonna hang up.
Thanks, David.
You're good.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm not even joking. Literally, like a moment after I said, I just like, a moment after I at this point, I don't know if people are joking or not. If you want to know why I've lost so much weight, it's the last episode on my channel. But just go.
I think you should just ignore it because like the more you bring it up, the more you're going to get like some weirdo to say something, whatever.
I guess I assumed that it was a person who showed up later and like doesn't, but it is still like I think it's such a rude thing to not just ask, but it's even more rude to insist that a person is. And again, I'm not. Definitively, I am not on Ozempic. I will, whatever drug test you want. I'm 1000% have not taken any GLP-1s.
Not on Ozempic, not on Mounjaro or whatever the other ones are.
Yeah.
None of it.
There's one that starts with an R. I've not taken actually any weight loss medication. I tried it very briefly 2 years ago. It does not work well with my medical stuff. The reason I am skinny isn't healthy, but it looks good.
And we can all be thankful for that.
But it's not an eating disorder. If people are, I realized how that sounded just like for a moment. Anyway, so stop being defensive then from the person who said it in chat. Stop being a fucking asshole then. I give a shit what you think about. Like, I actually do want people to go and consume that episode too, because I actually think it is important. But nope, not on Ozempic. Now, I will tell you, I think Ozempic should be very cheap and very accessible, because obesity-related illnesses are the number one things killing people in America and otherwise making them very, very sick. And I think we have basically a miracle product out there available. And they're actually finding more uses for this. There's now research showing that GLP-1s can reduce people's gambling addiction, which is crazy. Stuff like that. There are these cross uses. It should be, the government should seize it from the companies that are making billions of dollars. Have I already ranted in front of you about how Ozempic costs $5 to manufacture, but it's $1,300 right now on the marketplace without insurance, and then it's almost impossible to even get with insurance. You have frozen. Did you know that? Well, Alyssa's frozen, and I assume it's not my fault, but I don't know for a fact. I assume I'm about to get a text that's like, oh my God, I've disappeared. And this is totally something we can't just cut out because this is a live show. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. The chat is bullying a trans woman now. Nice. The person who was being shitty. Did I freeze
and come back?
Yeah, you're back now. The person who was being shitty in chat is now trying to hide behind the shield of, I came to bully. And then people were like, this is fucking bullshit. You're being an asshole. And now I'm being bullied, apparently thinking that it has anything to do with them being trans, despite the fact that you are receiving very much the same treatment that everyone who did it earlier in the episode did. If anything, you are complaining that apparently in this on this avenue, in this street, in my home, you are actually treated as a complete equal to everybody else in the chat. Go fuck yourself with that silliness. What do you mean no sound? Now I feel like these are just people trying to mess with me. Anyway, yeah, that could be true. Frozen. You are frozen because of Ozempic. Implicit bias is possible. I know. We actually, here's the thing, Christy. We here, who literally dedicate an entire day of our programs to trans issues, who literally the number 2 of my entire company, who basically inherits the whole thing if anything happens to me, is a trans woman. Earlier in the show, I thought, what if a trans person later shows up and complains that they think I'm on Ozempic? So I started being shitty back to the people being rude back then, just in case, to make sure, because I am so biased against trans people. I wanted to be prepared to bully them later and then use that justification. Do you hear yourself? Is it that you're used to going and picking fights and usually you're in the right and it is a good shield? So now you're trying to wield it as a cudgel when you're being called out for having shitty behavior? Is anyone allowed to call out your shitty behavior? That's really adorable. But frankly, a token. All right. I actually don't. I think I maybe don't even. At this point, you're actually just an anonymous person on the internet. Yeah. My token is so important to me. I literally have essentially given them my company. They run my company in very many ways. That's how much, not just a friend to throw out, but very much the second in command. Hilarious. Christy, you could come back. I have no actual way to verify that this person is anyone they say they are. So, joined YouTube 3 months ago. I'm thinking this might just be a general troll all around. Hilarious. What a silly, silly person. I want to talk to Daniel because I think Daniel is calling to talk in let's find out. Daniel, before we get started, are you an atheist or a theist? Daniel. Can you hear me, Daniel?
Can you hear me?
I sure do. Are you an atheist or a theist?
Atheist.
Okay. So it's weird because it looks like you're calling to talk about biblical prophecies and evolution. I'm not really sure what to do there.
Yeah. So I'm an atheist, but my mom still drags me around, to go to church. And this service today, I was talking to my pastor after service because we've been having conversations like these because, I told him about my changes in perspectives. And we were talking, and I noted that during his service, he pointed to a passage in Isaiah chapter 53, and it seems to be a prophecy to Jesus's, like his ministry, and it apparently it predates his birth by 700 years. So it's something that's always, it's something like recently that's really come to like compel me, because like, could that be true?
What was the scripture again?
It was Isaiah chapter 53, and it basically goes in depth into describing.
Oh, Daniel, I no longer hear you. You might need to tap your screen. Your screen may have gone to sleep.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
It's Isaiah chapter 53, and it basically goes into like a lowly servant, and the descriptions of this person, it seems to match, characteristics of Jesus.
Right. And how many verified characteristics of Jesus do we have? Not the story. How many exterior sources to the Bible written by people who weren't interested in filling this out, this Messiah character? How many exterior sources and verifications do we have that what is being described here, that there was a Jesus of Nazareth who fit this exact description?
I'm not familiar with any.
None. This is the thing. It's like, so somebody is writing, whether or not there was a Jesus they were ascribing this to, obviously, even if I'm sitting here not a mythicist, which I'm not really a mythicist, I think they have a good valid point, but I'm not, I sort of just take a very agnostic, like, seems like there's good reasons, and I'm not offended by anybody who says I believe Jesus Christ literally existed as a historical figure. I'm not upset about any of that. And I also don't take on the opposite side of like, no, he didn't exist. He's just a myth, whatever. So let's say I do accept that he does exist, even as an atheist, that the person exists. What atheist who does that? Like Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman is an atheist who believes Jesus exists and very much is anti-mythicist. But he doesn't believe that Jesus actually like walked on water. Doesn't believe that Jesus actually healed the blind. He believed that you would presume then that somebody who is writing the story of Jesus, this man, is putting in the details that make him look like a Messiah. So why would a person who has access to the Old Testament, has access to Isaiah, who is writing the story of Jesus, not include? You wrote part A. What happens in Lord of the Rings Fellowship is going to influence what happens in the Two Towers. But looking back and going like, oh my God, the what they're saying about Aragorn fits so well in book 1. And now he's there in book 2 just doing that stuff. That doesn't make Aragorn more of a character. It's still written as, it's still fictional.
Yeah, I guess I really never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I even if you believe in a historical Jesus, you don't have to believe in the historicity of the Bible as doing an adequate job of describing that Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's another thing regarding the historicity of the Bible, especially like how historically reliable like the 4 Gospels are. Like, can we like determine that? And I mean, another thing about that. So basically, I've heard once that so we know that all 4 Gospels have attributes that contradict themselves. And the thing about that is, one time I heard that contradictions would actually make that better, because it would show us that the person who's writing these things down had a different perspective or a different view from another person. So they saw the same thing, but their like perspectives were like a little shifty. So it makes it more of a reliable source. I've heard that before. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you can't consistently defend that and say that the Bible is infallible, first of all, because perspective wouldn't change what is true. But then either to say that that actually makes it better isn't better. Obviously, it would be better if you had lots of independent individuals all give the same account. That why it would be better, because you're like, you're acknowledging the difference in perspective. No, if it's a material fact, it would be better if they were all consistent. And a lot of these things aren't just perspective differences, but actual like main character differences, as though you are saying he was a man in one story and a woman in the other. That's not just a difference in perspective. Anyway, but the idea then otherwise of, at best you could say it's neutral if you don't believe in the infallible. If you say the Bible is fallible, you could say like, okay, there's a neutrality to like, yes, it shows that the different people wrote it, but also the inconsistencies are very significant. And so we can say that this resembles like certain other historical writings, but you wouldn't anchor a religious belief, hopefully, in those types of historical writings.
A lot of the books are also not, they don't claim to be eyewitness accounts either. So there, a lot of though they're being told from many different perspectives, they're also being told not as eyewitness accounts, as stories that were just kind of like passed on through decades of time.
We literally don't even know who wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, speaking of the Gospels.
Yeah, they're I hear they're anonymous authors, so that's also pretty concerning too.
Right. They attribute the books for whom they are named, but they're not. Well, I guess Matthew and Luke are attributed to Mark by some. Or no, sourced Mark. Anyway, it's not anything that, if you're saying you're feeling a pull back to religion by, I would not describe these as like very challenging. Certainly not anything where, hey, things in part A remind me of things that happened in part B, when I'm here to say like, even clearly Jerusalem exists, but it doesn't mean the story of the zombies in Jerusalem after Jesus rose from the dead, all the people who got up to greet their family, just because Jerusalem exists and there's a prophecy about people coming back from the dead, doesn't then mean in the second book when they said that all happened, that's true.
Got it. Another subject I wanted to touch on is evolution. When I spoke to my pastor, and I have a very like elementary like understanding of how it works, and so as soon as I brought up that like evolution could be a contributor as to how human life has how we got here as a society. As soon as I said that, he said, "Okay, show me a transitional fossil." And I didn't really know what that was for like a while until I went home and I did some research. And I'm pretty sure that Darwin actually he basically predicted that if evolution is true, then like we would need like a change between species, or at least to see that in the fossil. And so I did some like very like basic research. Like I heard like of like Archaeopteryx, and then he sent me like an article from like Answers in Genesis or something. It was like how scientists have basically like are starting to like disagree on whether or not that's a transitional fossil. So I've wondered, like, do we have transitional fossils, and like how badly this would affect the proposition of evolution?
Oh, I apparently didn't put you on let me get your name tag up on the screen here. Not that people can see it. It's hidden under the chat anyway. But yeah, we have transitional fossils. And Daniel, I don't mean to sound at all condescending. I hope I don't when I say this. It's literally all fossils. All fossils are transitional fossils. I don't know what people are trying to like hyper change. There isn't like it's not like a monkey wants to become a cat. And so you have, generation 1 is a monkey, generation 2 is a monkey cat, and generation 3 is a cat. Like it lost the monkey stuff. Every species used to be part of a different species and will eventually be a different species. So there's no such thing as a non-transitional fossil. Fossils themselves are very rare. They're hard to come by. So, sorry, I'm just getting this name tag thing filled out here at the same time, and I don't have the other info, so I'm just gonna stick with the name for the moment. But all fossils are transitional. Now, if you want to say like we do know that there was an animal that resembles this and an animal that resembles this, and somewhere in the middle should be an animal that has traits of both. In other words, to say a transitional fossil, but not define transitional between what. So if you want to say between our monkey ancestors, the ones that the ancestor that we have with all monkeys, and us, certainly you can go find those transitional fossils. There's an abundance of them. There's an entire paleontology museum, anthropology rather, museum dedicated to them. And you can go look at Homo erectus and Homo habilis and Australopithecus africanus. Like these are all literally human transitional species. Fun fact, and not known by everybody, not a transitional species for Homo sapiens would be Neanderthal. There is a small amount of DNA in them, but they are more of our cousins than our descendants. So they would be a transitional, they wouldn't be a transitional species because they went extinct. Those are the only fossils. Unless a species goes extinct, all fossils are transitional.
So if we can see these things in museums and they're so public to, they're so public to the world, why do creationists still deny evolution?
Dogma. Like Candace Owens this week literally made a podcast where she kept calling space fake and gay because she's a flat earther. Yes. Like after seeing the women go up, she was disagreeing with Matt Walsh on things because Matt Walsh fundamentally believes in NASA. And she's like, NASA, it's a satanic cult. It's all this like, they're doing all these rituals, and the founder was into sex cult stuff, and it's she kept calling space, and space is fake and gay. It's always been fake and gay. The moon landing is fake and gay. Like it was literally that over and over and over again, to the point of where it's like it's not funny, but it's also kind of funny because it's just so dumb.
An insane thing to say.
And I'm not kidding. I saw yesterday somebody on Threads write unpopular opinion: Candace Owens should run for president, and I actually agree. I would like Candace Owens to run for president. She not become president, but I would like her to run because I'd like to know the data on rejecting her level of insanity, her level of like you can have the support of QAnon, but you can't just fully be QAnon and become the president. Even Trump knew that. Anyway, yeah, the space is fake and gay. Is apparently true according to Candace Owens. So anyway, Candace Owens has all of the evidence you could possibly need in her hands if she wants it, because you can get it all from your smartphone if you want to hear about it. And then she definitely has the money to go and do the experiments to verify herself that the Earth is an oblique spheroid. Fuck, she could go on one of the rockets. She's got $250,000, I'm sure. I don't know if Bezos is giving those out. Maybe he has a list of people he's willing to sell to, but Elon's one of her. This is funny too. Elon's like one of her heroes and all of their heroes. What is Elon's deal then? He's the one who he brings you back and allows you to just say the craziest shit on his platform and isn't taking you down for saying space isn't real. Meanwhile, he's literally like many of his billions of dollars hinges on the idea that space is real. I'm waiting for you to go after her. Yeah, I know. She also said dinosaurs are fake and gay. She literally believes in
it's insane that she keeps using the phrase fake and gay. That's right. So crazy.
Right. And these are people who believe the Earth is 6,000 years old, and we could literally teach them, show them, prove them about the rate of uranium decay and go and show them rocks and at least show them that the Earth isn't, even if they're not going to get all the way to how old the Earth is, prove to them that it is not possible for the Earth to be 6,000 years old, but they still deny. It's dogma. It's religion. That's their whole thing.
And Daniel, I think it's like in the same way that you were asking about transitional fossils, and Jimmy responded and said, well, all fossils are like transitional fossils. I think that there's a way that the religious perspective likes to package things up really nicely to be like, there are no transitional fossils. What does that tell us? And it's like, for a regular person, when you hear that, it feels really compelling in that moment. And they know how to do that because they've had thousands of years now, well, maybe not thousands, hundreds of years of practice in being able to know exactly what phrasing to use that will make their argument sound really, really compelling. And so, I think the reason that people believe is because there are some parts of religion that are convenient for some people. There are some parts of religion that are comforting for some people. And then you have these really compelling arguments where people are being taken advantage of, like their lack of expertise in all areas of all things can be so easily taken advantage of.
Yeah. I literally once was having an argument about evolution with a guy who I was like, oh, well, if evolution's true, how, and he starts listing off things. He's like, how do you explain A, B, C, or D? And B or C, he literally said the phrase pre-Cambrian rabbit, which refers to actually a concept that people who are evolutionary scientists have said a long time, if evolution wasn't true, we would find a pre-Cambrian rabbit. You could go into the fossils in the layers in the earth, and you go down to the pre-Cambrian era, and you wouldn't only find pre-Cambrian species, and yet there's not a single rabbit down there. And so it's basically like, here's like an obvious thing, like here's an easy way you could debunk evolution. Just find us a pre-Cambrian rabbit. No one's ever found a pre-Cambrian rabbit, but this man, of course, sorry, let's be real. This man unironically says to me, how do you explain the pre-Cambrian rabbit? A thing that's never been found. And he had only had relayed to a person to a person to a person. The story, I'm sure, just modified over and over and over again. A person to a person to a person hears like, oh, well, a pre-Cambrian rabbit would debunk evolution. They say that to somebody else, could debunk evolution. And then now it's suddenly a pre-Cambrian rabbit debunked evolution. Like, that's how stupid these fucking cycles go.
Man, that is actually insane. Like,
yep. And it's when you're in those moments that you're like, oh, this conversation isn't actually worth having. Like, what am I doing here? Yeah. You start reevaluating your life. You call your loved ones. You're like, I don't know if the Earth's going to make it. We're cooked, I think. Anyway, anything else, Danielle, before we let you go here?
Yeah, one final question. It kind of a little bit diverges from the idea of evolution, but so I was speaking to him, and he's really been making me do like some critical thinking, like, but my pastor, and this one was the one that really like kind of stumped me. So
go ahead.
He spoke, and
by the way, Daniel, real quick, can you just get your pastor to call one of these days? Like, let me talk to your pastor, man.
Wish.
Hell yeah.
I wish.
Hey,
that would be crazy. But
whip out the Bible. It tells him to be ready to defend at all times. He has a biblical mandate to do it. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So, one of the things he brought up is the issue of morality, because basically what he said is, so under your worldview, all morality is subjective. So there was nothing wrong with, and this literally the analogy he used, so there's literally nothing wrong with raping a little girl, because to you that may be wrong, but to that other person they're saying, oh, so why is that wrong? You have no standards to judge it with. And I guess that really made me think. And so
sure.
My question is, like, is morality something that has evolved over time, and how do we like deal with the idea of a subjective morality?
First of all, morality can only be subjective. Morality is a human concept. It is literally humans getting together and determining what is right and wrong. And so when it comes to what that should be anchored in, people should have to defend it. You should have to defend why your morality is superior to another. So, of course, a person can come and say it is okay to, for example, let's say there was a 14-year-old girl and you don't really much care what plan she had for her life, but you'd like to impregnate her, people can say that that's okay because God was the one raping her, so that's objectively moral. But that's literally the story of Jesus's mother. Anyway, so kind of rich coming from a Christian, a person can say that, but can they defend it? Where you're going, what are we anchoring this concept of right and wrong in? If not that which is going to benefit our well-being and equalize a world in which we are all thrust into seemingly at random with a bit of a like character sheet dice roll and try and make that as accessible to everybody as possible? Or are you going to go with, I heard from a guy who 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 heard from a guy. I've got about 200 more of these, so buckle in. Who heard from a guy. Okay, let's jump to them. That one time a dude who can chill in clouds said A, B, C, D, or E. It's literally, regardless of if you believe an objective lawgiver exists, whether or not that is what you believe, at the end of the day, you are choosing that and you are reaffirming it day after day. So that you think that the best case you heard for what you should morally follow was the one somebody made to you, or many somebodies, about God. I'm choosing my morality on the basis of I think the best case is one that you can defend and actually say like, hey, autonomy is a thing. And I know that it seems very unfair when that is violated. So let's discuss why it seems and discuss if that seems is more of an opinion-based thing or is actually anchored in something deeper, whether it's biological, philosophical, or whatever else. It is impossible because it is still something every day you can choose and you can change. And God, even if he exists, would still be a subject, he's not an objective source. He would still be a subjective source. It is impossible for morality to be anything but subjective. And so it is good then that we also build societies where if you can do the best job at defending something as moral or as better or as right for a certain situation, we can build those societies to reject the morons who come along and say it is okay to rape a child, which keep in mind is a part of all Abrahamic religions. Yes, obviously the Muslims have the more recent example of what Muhammad was doing with Asha. Sure, that one's easy to point to, but you still have child sexual slaves in the Bible. You still have an incredibly young age that women are not being given a choice and who their husband, but in general, the whole concept of marriage before modern sensibilities was that a father owns their daughter and they will transfer that ownership to another man. And then there's often exchanges of things like dowries and the like to make that worth it. But it is still a transfer of ownership. While we talk about slavery in the Bible, usually referring to things like chattel slavery or Jewish slavery or the things that were laid out in Leviticus, let's keep in mind that the entire book is a book of female slavery, that women are slaves for the whole book. And they're, it's men's world and they're just in it with a couple of exceptions where even the story of Esther, you have ways in which she had to be careful to respect her husband and his will. And she had to change his heart because she doesn't have any autonomy herself. So I don't know if I just got Esther and Ruth, whichever one's the right one. I don't do Bible study so much anymore. I think I'm right though, that it's Esther. Anyway, it's a meaningless debate to have about whether it's objective or subjective, because at the end of the day, we have billions of people in the world and all of us have this sense of fairness. And clearly, even religious people like for the laws of the land they live in to not only come from the Bible. Clearly, they like living with separation of church and state. So upon what basis are they coming up with those laws? And if you can say by having well-reasoned logical arguments about why those things are good or bad, then you can do it about anything else. And I find religious people very weak in their defense of morality. If I sit here and go, it's wrong to rape because A, B, C, D, and E, and it's based in logic, it's based in the actual world around us, and they're saying it's wrong to rape sometimes, but only the times God says, and I don't have to defend anything further than that because it's God's law. Basically, you're saying I'm going to come to the argument and actually defend it, and you're not going to defend it at all. that's an inferior morality to me every way I look at it.
Yeah. You honestly need
to talk to
really
your
answer my
pastor.
questions. I knew.
You're saying you honestly, and I filled it in with need to talk to your pastor, because that's how I feel.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because when I think about it, the morality that he is arguing for is, I mean, it's pretty flawed in its own right. I mean, you can beat your slaves as long as you don't kill them. I mean,
yeah,
there's lots of killing in the Old Testament. There's many problems and issues that, don't really seem to, be very fit for our modern society, as they're pretty barbaric. And yet we cover it up and we just say, oh, but don't forget, Jesus loves you in the end. All that stuff is old. This is the New Testament we're in. We're in the New Testament. So, all those things, they don't matter anymore. We're under the new law. So it's like, it's still just terrible, so I really appreciate you guys, taking the time to answer some of my questions. It's my first time calling in and watching the show for, a few weeks now, and, I really enjoy it. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. Sounds great.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yep.
Have a good one, Daniel. I think somebody is on the on hold, just waiting to hear what show is live right now, which is a little strange, but
that's really funny.
Yeah, we're over on the channel Jimmy Snow. I'm Jimmy. I own the line, so that's why we're sharing the call-in website with the line. But I'm not going to take that call. That'd be a weird call to take. So I guess a little reminder to people: we are starting to do vertical call-in shows in this vertical format over here on Jimmy Snow. And you will see other people from the line as well over here. The name of the channel probably isn't going to change. It's also probably usually going to feature me, but there are definitely people I trust with my channel without me. And that's just kind of be how it is. So the person on hold who was wondering that still hasn't dropped. So it's kind of weird, but I'll drop them. Let's see. Yeah, I'm very interested to see what this call is going to be. I do need to come back here and take down this banner. Let's talk to Laura. I wish people, when you call in, because right now we have a robot screening, do present which side of an issue you are on, because I think we've taken multiple calls now where I thought it was the other side and it wasn't. So just let us know. Don't just say the topic is abortion. We want to know if you're pro-life or pro-choice. So that'll be the first thing we ask here is Lori, who is calling. And Lori, what is it that you are calling about in regards to abortion? I guess first, Lori, how are you?
I am okay. How are you all?
Delightful.
Good.
I am pro-choice.
Okay.
But it's come up a couple times in conversations I've had with people who aren't pro-choice.
Okay.
And I thought about it's just something that has been seriously bothering me. I've gotten a few times, well, if abortion isn't murder, then why is somebody charged with double homicide if a pregnant woman gets killed? And the only thing I can think of to say is they need to change the laws. I don't know. I think that's a good question. But then I thought about that, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form in any condition to have a baby. I'm 68 years old. I'm in my mid-20s. I got very sick and lost all abilities to have children, which is why I haven't lived without a pet in my life, because I need children, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if I was pregnant with a child that I really wanted, and me and my man, we really wanted and loved this child, and if somebody were to come up to me and punch me in the stomach and cause me to lose my child, I gotta tell you, I'd want to charge that person with murder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really conflicted here on on this whole thing? Is it because the babies want it? Does that make it murder? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe
So
y'all can help me with this.
you can go first, actually. Let's say if you like. It kind of like goes into both of our things. Alyssa, are you frozen again? I think we have another frozen Alyssa situation. Alyssa, are you frozen? I'd like you to come back. All this is going to be kept on when it gets redistributed to the podcast. Well, I think Alyssa is coming back. It's, we shall see. We shall see. So the fundamental question to why is it that way? Because people passed that law that way. And a lot of those laws are rooted in times and in a lot of states from places that were not mostly pro-choice or, most of them weren't. Now, that said, I don't mind it. I don't care that is the case because, one, you shouldn't be physically assaulting a person. And two, if you cause them more harm than you were intending to, that should also be taken into consideration. I guess I'll go up to a solo screen while we wait to see if she's going to be able to come back, and I might have to text her and let her know. I don't know if she just maybe somehow doesn't know that she is frozen, but we'll find out. It doesn't really bother. Okay, she said she's frozen, but she's coming back, so I'll look out for when she's back. It doesn't matter much to me that is the case because it is still a big thing. And whether or not we're going to go with like the mother has decided to keep the child or whether or not that's even the case, they haven't decided yet. They didn't even know they were pregnant. The amount of additional harm done to a person should have serious consequences. Now, it is worth noting that when it comes to a lot of state laws, they call it specifically fetal homicide, which is a separate designation than, a fetus. Certainly they are a fetus, and that there are differences in consideration. So you are going to have states that are going to handle that as a fully different issue, as a fully different homicide, and just say it's a person and stuff. And that's probably going to be along the lines of that state's ideology. But again, if a person, like in the example you gave, hit somebody in the stomach and that person lost their pregnancy, that's clearly an additional, if we're balancing out, if we're serving justice, you haven't just hit them in the stomach and therefore should only get the hit them in the stomach penalty. You should get the emotional loss, the big physical trauma done by inducing what would have been, in that case, a miscarriage, or you could call it a sort of involuntary abortion if you liked at that point. It doesn't much bother me that we make those sort of, that when it's a very nuanced situation such as that we have to kind of just go with, hey, this doesn't fit perfectly everything else. So what do we as a society want to do? And to add additional penalties to further repel people from committing physical violence on pregnant people, yeah, that's fine by me. But if we need to change what the terms are, do what you got to do.
I also think you don't have to, it's also a choice, right? Like you can charge people with things, like that's a strategic and it's a strategic move, but it also is something that is like a choice you make with your lawyer. And so I think like if it were a situation where realistically it was not a baby you were going to keep and you didn't really want to have that be a part of whatever this case would be, then you wouldn't include it. But if that was a child that you were intending on having, then you would charge them with the loss of this child that you were intending on having. So I think it's one of those moments where emotion and intent are tied into this like legal matter, which is it's a hard thing to then argue in a way that feels very, like when we talk about abortion on Chewed Gum, we're very like, it actually, every other argument kind of doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's the choice of the woman that is the biggest priority. Her bodily autonomy and her choice is what's most important. And I guess in those circumstances, it's the violation of consent in losing this baby. And it's also the woman's intent to keep the child that's also being violated in that circumstance.
Yeah, I also just checked fetal fetal homicide laws don't grant personhood. They might acknowledge humanity of, but they don't actually grant personhood. So you could also say like a person against the will of the doctors and families who are leaving a person on life support with brain activity left or something. If a person went in fact, by the way, people have legally gotten in trouble to that, basically pulling the plug on people, nurses and stuff who have a weird, like these types of serial killers that have existed essentially in the past, people who have killed people who are under their care, even though they're dying anyway, or they're unconscious anyway, or they aren't really even participating at the same mental level as everybody else. We still consider those things illegal too.
Good. They should be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, it's a lot to think about. It's a lot for me to think about.
I think what Alyssa said is almost better, though. I would go with that. Like, if you need to reply to somebody, even fetal homicide laws are about protecting the woman's choice. Because at the end of the day, whether you are forcing a woman to carry a child, you are committing a horrible crime, I think, or should be a horrible crime, forcing somebody to carry a child they don't want to have. Or if you are forcing them to lose the child, should be a similar crime. In the same way that we would treat it like if a person were, I don't know if a similar crime might have been poorly put, but if a person were to like feed you abortion pills against your knowledge, that should be a crime too. Or these fucking idiots these men's rights activists that I've argued with a bunch of times that are like, well, I want the same rights as a woman. I want the right to abort the child. And I'm like, you do have that right. Like, no, if she wants to keep the child, she does. Yes. And you still have the right to abort it. No, I can't abort it. Yes, you can. No, because it's literally like, if that baby ends up in your body, bro, you have the right to abort it. Anybody with a baby in their body they don't want to have has the right to abort it. But they think that a law that doesn't really do them any good because they can't get pregnant means that they need something that they consider equal in their mind, when it's literally like bodily autonomy is what we're talking about, not the right to kill something you don't want to take care of. Bodily autonomy. And everyone has it. You also have the right to excavate tumors from your body, right? Like it is, you actually literally have the right. If I develop the technology to blow dart you and there's a thing starting to grow and live in you, and you could get a simple procedure to have it removed just because it's a living human, even if that is what it is, that shouldn't stop you from being able to remove it. Literally, men and women have the right to abort all fetuses in their body. I don't know why I went on that little side rant. I guess because I wanted to. Never mind. I don't know. What am I apologizing for? I felt like it.
Well, I am, come on. If men got pregnant, abortion would be legal. That's
oh my God, 100%.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and I had, well, obviously many, many years ago, I had my second abortion in my early 20s. And abortion is not a decision, at least for me and people I've spoken to, it's not a decision that is made overnight. I don't pee on a stick and say, uh-oh, and then call Planned Parenthood.
Right.
It's not like that. It broke up a very long relationship. It's something that traumatically, I don't know the right word, but it gets to you. And it's something you don't, you learn how to live with it, you deal with it, but it's something that's always there. And I was a believer, and I got told, because I got sick and had to lose all my baby making stuff inside of me, I got told that was a punishment from God because I had two abortions. And that is, and I believed it. And I was on my knees apologizing to God. God, I'm so sorry, but the whole whatever, but it's like, that's an awful thing to tell somebody. For many years, I thought it was my own fault that I brought it on. But the decision to abort does not come easy to anybody that's listening that thinks, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, better make an appointment. No, I mean, it took me over the course of a few weeks, to decide between me and my fiance at the time.
Yeah,
that it was the best thing to do.
They're now trying to shorten the amount of time you even have to make that decision too, to basically like lock people into doing it.
Lori, I'm glad that you explain your experience that way, because that is like one of the really ridiculous things that flies around the pro-life community, that women are just getting abortions like they go to CVS, and that's never, I don't know of any. And that's, first of all of this is like anecdotal, so it's, at the end of the day, it's sort of like it is what we say it is, but I cannot imagine a world in which someone would treat. I know people who stress out about going to get their dental cleaning every year. You really think that women are having abortions like they go to CVS? That's insane. Like, I'll delay getting a haircut.
I've heard that.
Like,
yeah, I've heard that, and that is like, it's like they use abortion for birth control. No, they don't.
Yeah, no, they don't.
I mean,
like, no, they don't. It's like the laziest argument. It's just a way to make it seem like women are incapable of decision making, and it's so insulting. I've heard that many times from people who are pro-life, and it's infuriating, because it really just feels like you really truly believe that women are incapable of making a decision that is reasonable, if you actually think that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're trying to take our right to vote away, so they obviously think we're dumb as a sack of rocks, and we can't do anything right except sleep with them.
It's not hard. That's one of the shitty things about, like, no matter what the cause is, you can find some real fucking stupid person to make the case for that side. Fox News is really great at finding like really dumb Democrats or really dumb leftists, like everybody is that way. So it's kind of like, if my only exposure to women was Pearl Davis, I'd also not want women to vote, right? Like, if that was what I thought, if I thought Pearl Davis represented all women, and be like, maybe they shouldn't vote though. And there are people who think Pearl Davis represents all women. So we have to do a better job at winning on the merits of the arguments and trying to even help dumb people understand grander concepts, because right now dumb people made us, well, how do I want to put it? It's a Trumpian world again. We just live in it.
A Trumpian world.
Man, this is my one life, and I have to
unfortunately, I don't think I'll live long enough to see. I'm not going to live long enough to see my country heal from this. I thoroughly believe that.
But are you younger than Trump? Because I take a lot of solace in knowing that I will get to live. I'm not suggesting I want him to die in any way or another. I'm only acknowledging that everybody dies.
No.
And I am young enough that I will get to live in a world where he is dead, and that's going to be the shit. Him and my dad, I'm like, hell yeah.
It's not going to end when that happens, though. I mean, there's going to be, I believe there's going to be a lot of cleanup, and I don't know. I mean, it could take decades. I don't know if I have decades in me.
Laura, I'm just saying that we can all at least look forward to one really good party day. Really, really great day.
Yes. It's hard to party here in West Virginia because it's so red, and I live in a very red area, but
you'll find people. You'll find there's going to be the underground parties. First of all, as having grown up Mormon, I promise you there are underground orgies going on in every super red place. There will be a party that you can join. I assure you of this.
I hope so. I hope it's close by. I hope so.
Yep. Oh, Alyssa, are you just still, or have you frozen again?
I appreciate you talking to me.
No, I'm just still.
Okay.
I have that effect on people. Sorry.
No, I'm reading the chat.
Thank you, Lori. All right, Lori, we'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay, thanks for taking my call. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
bye.
me too.
Thank you for sharing your experience, too. That was awesome.
Oh, sorry. My click was too fast. I'm a fast clicker. Fastest click in the land, they say. Can we start planning that party? Like, we should create a whole thing that lets other people participate, like a whole plan. Like, when the day comes, here's the Zoom link. It will go active immediately. And we're all showing up. And
oh my God.
Everybody, if it's a 21 and up party, because I'm not promising to show up with clothes on, right? Like, please register here, verify your identity in the ways that you now have to verify your identity to watch porn in Utah. I think Texas as well. I want to know. I've got VPNs. Who knows how they're enforcing it here. Yeah, my goodness, the party will be.
Oh my God! Wait, I'm sorry. Did you see Trump's tweet today?
Which is it? A truth or
his Easter?
Oh yeah. Happy Easter to everybody I hate. This is a very authentic Happy Easter, listing them all out. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Should I
this
read it?
Is insane.
Do you want me to do the voice?
Please do a Trump reading of this.
Trump Easter truth, and then we'll hit these last calls. Hey, everybody who's watching, listening, whatever, stick around after this show, which we are taping live on Sunday on Easter. After this show, we will be redirecting you back to the line where Forrest Valkai and John Gleason will be taking more calls for the evening. And then also, you should check out the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. The Line has a podcast, and subscribe there, where we usually don't do call-in shows. If you're over here if you're listening elsewhere, you want to go to the YouTube channel Jimmy Snow. If you want to make sure you don't miss future vertical call-in shows, which will probably begin pretty quick here. Honestly, I might even be doing solo. Somebody's saying do it as Stewie instead of Trump, as though that would be. I don't know. It's like, which one do you prefer? I'll do whatever you tell me. You want me to switch off between the two?
Oh, yeah, that might be fun.
To go like sentence by sentence? Why don't they just... Okay, let me just find a screenshot of it. This is dumb. All right. Nope, that's not the right one. Why am I having such a hard time finding this fucker? Okay, does it start with Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Happy Easter to all. Hang on, I got to get into the voice, actually. Happy Easter.
Wait, I'm gonna pee while you do this. Make yourself full screen, and I'm gonna go pee.
Okay, frankly, that is a very nasty thing to tell us. Remember when he complained about Hillary going pee? Anyway.
Yeah, fucking hate that guy. Anyway.
Here we go. Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, the mentally insane, as well as well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. Happy Easter also to the weak and ineffective judges and law enforcement officials who are allowing this sinister attack on our nation to continue. An attack so violent. Oh man, I'm not as good at that one anymore. An attack so violent that it will never be forgotten. Sleepy Joe Biden purposely allowed millions of criminals, all caps criminals, to enter our country, totally unvetted and unchecked, through an open borders policy that will go down in history as the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated upon America. How do I know that calamitous was not his word? How do I know that that was definitely picked by somebody for him? He was by far our worst and most incompetent president, and a man who has absolutely no idea what he was doing. But to him, to the person that ran and manipulated the auto pen, perhaps our real president, and to all of the people who cheated in the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive... it got cut off. It got cut off. Oh my God, it got cut off. Highly destructive. We got cut off. Where's the end of it? Wait, I might have found it. Highly destructive moron elected. I wish you, with great love, sincerity, and affection, a very happy Easter. It's that was our contribution from Truth Social today that Alyssa asked me to read in those special ways and then left to pee, so I don't think actually heard any of it. But I'm not doing it again, Alyssa. You had one chance, one shot, and you blew it.
To do what?
You blew it. You blew it. To the transition seemingly at random between.
Oh my God.
Oh, no, wait, I can't always do that one just on demand. I don't practice it like I used to. Anyway. frankly, that was. Oh, I know that. Somebody wrote, "You're losing it as funny as the reading, Jimmy." Wait, maybe I'm misinterpreting that sentence. I thought you were just saying as long as it's going, it's getting less funny, and I agree. I was like, I committed to this, and then it was too much. It was too much. I don't even know why.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of my favorite memes ever is have you seen the Go Piss Girl?
No.
Meme?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so somebody took, like Gossip Girl, the show?
Yes.
Okay, so they took like the little whatever. It was like an ad for Gossip Girl, and someone like separated the go part, so it said Go Piss Girl. Oh. And it's just like it's like an old stupid meme, and that's literally all it is, and it just makes me laugh every time. And so someone in the chat went, "Go Piss Girl," and it just cracks me up every time.
My edgy days, you remember when everybody was an edgelord on the internet? You don't remember those days? You don't remember the days everyone was an edgelord, where everything was like, who can make the most dead baby jokes, which white people are saying the N-word on YouTube? You don't remember those days?
No, but that's crazy.
It wasn't
not
that
really.
long.
I don't.
We're talking about like Shane Dawson in his original days, like iDubbbz before he became so pure and wonderful, and then released. Man, I can't believe, what year was it? He released a Content Cop this year. It was this week. It was insane. But like Tana Montague. Like
Tana Montague is crazy.
Who are the other old school edgelords? It was just all edge. Anyway, the old edgelords. And one of my edgy things, sort of the same thing, was my roommate was his mother was a massage therapist, and she had this big sign that just said massage therapist out of her practice. So I took a picture of it, and back then I was already like working in the photo world, and so I just went to Photoshop. And it just said massage therapist, and I just put a space between the THE and the RAPIST, and I posted that. Yeah. And that was my like super edgy thing.
That's your Go Piss Girl.
I'm so
That's
funny.
Great.
Oh my God. I'm so funny.
I love it.
There's a second Signal chat. I'll have to be checking that out. Yeah, that's right. We'll look that up on Whiskey Leaks. But let's get another call or two before we get done here. I don't even know why I'm taking this call, because it's a weird hypothetical. Jimmy, who gave nonsense pronouns that aren't actual real pronouns, because that's not how pronouns works. Jimmy, you are on the line with JIMI, for the record. You're like the evil twin, Jimmy, and you want to ask a silly question about if I'd rather try DMT or go on Bezos's rocket. And my question to you is, what makes you think I haven't tried DMT? I'm not going to confirm whether I have or haven't, but why do you already just assume I haven't?
You kind of give it away, in a sense. You don't seem like a person that's done it, definitely.
Why is that? Because I don't believe in astrology. Like, what's the reason?
No, because you've been asked about it in the past, and you kind of give indications that someone who obviously hasn't tried it.
Interesting. What an interesting thing.
Very interesting.
Are you saying you would prefer to do that than go on Bezos' rocket?
At this time in my life, since I'm not in the era where I will put in almost anything into my body, would I go on Bezos's rocket? You're saying I have to choose one, right? Well, one of them's, I guess I'd stick with DMT, because at least it's not going to do that amount of environmental damage, all because a billionaire wants to pretend to be a space cowboy.
Well, yeah, I mean, another reason I suggested is, you're looking for evidence of the divine. A lot of people find,
I've done many of the chemicals which were supposedly going to show me evidence of the divine, but I think it's insane that people go, the evidence of the divine and where this spirituality will come from will be something we can measure the effects it has on your brain and see you hallucinate in an MRI. I think that's a wild connection to make.
Well, you see, I mean, the reason you would find that a wild connection is exactly why I don't think you've, really participated in something like that.
And you would be incorrect that I have not participated. Again, I'm not going to confirm any specific thing for your satisfaction, but I have ingested many of the chemicals that were promised to do just that. And in fact, I would say my experiences with some of those earlier in my journey were actually a big part of my seeing through, when I started to go like, oh, word, like back when I thought I was having revelations, back when I thought I was communicating with the divine as a religious experience, I've actually found that part in my brain, and to some degree, since those experiences, can actually intentionally locate that spot without the chemicals and experience some like smaller version of it through just simple meditation. But it's, Jimmy, it's not that exciting of a thing to me to hear from a person like, okay, well, this specific thing that most people haven't had access to, and yet most people have believed in God, and this is the societal conditioning that most people have received, this thing would be the proof, and the proof would still be a subjective experience that we know are hallucinating, that hallucination will be so compelling and convincing that you will find yourself changing your mind about whether or not subjective experiences and anecdotes that can't actually be explained by you is better to then give a divine explanation, a supernatural or divine explanation to, than to remain skeptical and go, well, since I know that's all happening in my brain, why would I change that? But if you want to talk about changes in perspective it gave me for empathy and collectivism, sure, I have had lots of experiences with chemicals that changed my feelings about collectivism and the concept of humanity as a whole versus an individual. That's probably part of my political change from where I used to be as an atheist libertarian to now being basically a dirtbag socialist. So you can basically say like, I believe, let me repeat your position back to you, Jimmy, as I perceive it, not as you're going to perceive it. I still believe in God and I still can't prove it, but I'm very compelled by it. So I'm going to tell you that I don't think you had a subjective experience that I had that I think is the magical experience. And Jimmy, it sounds no different to me than Mormons coming to me with their like, well, you just didn't have the right experience, or a Catholic coming to me and being like, well, you weren't praying to the right God. But when you know, you know. It's just when you know, you just think your is stronger.
We see that's exactly why I would disagree with you, because, a lot of this stuff has been studied and they don't really reduce it to a subjective experience. And that's why I would say that you've kind of put up a straw man there.
Great. Then give us your actual position then, because it is exactly what it comes off as.
Okay. Well, I agree with a lot of the professionals who say that, what they induce in volunteers, especially with psychedelics, is it's virtually identical with what they perceive happening throughout history with, mystics and yogis and so forth. So that, the Holy Spirit or Nirvana, Samadhi, all these various spiritual names are names that, of this one phenomenon that has been occurring throughout history. And so when they dose people modernly, and especially if they dose atheists, they find that they're no longer able to identify with atheism. But that doesn't, we're not talking about they believe in some anthropomorphic God or some subjective experience, because
yes, you are.
Refer to.
Yes, you absolutely are, because you accused me of straw manning, and then you did a totalitarian argument that's a lie. It's not that all. I granted you didn't use the word all, but there's the implication. Many atheists who try DMT still identify as atheists after the fact. Many atheists who have, by the way, even your own thing you were describing was that people have these experiences without DMT, but DMT can induce the experience. And so many people who have these seemingly very spiritual experiences on other chemicals or without inducing chemicals also end up remaining atheists. But yes, in a place where it is a societal, like people the social conditioning of these people. By the way, I'm also aware that DMT trials have gone on with different cultures, and people will have similar hallucinations and to what people have with near-death experiences, where those hallucinations are most consistent with the culture that they are surrounded by. That they will have Christian coded ones versus Hindu coded ones and the like. So when you say it's not just a simple subjective experience, it literally is. It is a collection of subjective experiences, and the plural of subjective is not data, of anecdotes is not data.
Well, okay, you've sort of conflated some things there. If you look into the research, they will say that you can have cultural influence on the experience, such that if you grew up a Christian, you'll see Christ on the cross, Muhammad if you're a Muslim, so on and so forth. But with what they call a complete or unitive mystical experience, it's no longer influenced by one's personal history.
How would you do that? So what you just described is literally impossible to know. What you just described is absurd. When you have this experience, it is no longer influenced by, your mind is doing things, and you're saying it breaks free of the influence because because they can't report what it's influenced by?
Exactly what I'm saying.
Do you know how easy it is to talk to people about things and find people who are sure of one thing and then just find the holes in where they don't know what they've absorbed? And this isn't even just with drug experiences. This is like just day to day when people are talking, like, I'm pretty sure that so-and-so behaved this way because of this. And you just start asking them and revealing the flaws. Like, you just made a claim that would be impossible to know.
No, okay, look, you don't have to take my word for it. The
I
research
don't.
is there.
I've read plenty of research on all of the drugs, buddy, and done some of the research on the drugs.
There's decades of research that shows. I would look into this term that they use called complete mystical experience or unitive mystical experience, and they do say that there is, more universal aspects than it pertaining to some kind of personal history of the individual.
I have no problem with saying that there's a universal aspects either. Of course, that we are humans, we're Homo sapiens taking the same drugs, and there are going to be fundamentally things that are the same about all of our lives across the world as far as commonalities in our experiences, and the idea that it would cause similar responses and reactions in the same way that we can track demographic changes. Literally, people fucking make their signs on restaurants red because a study at some point said, I don't know if the study is borne out as true, but that just seeing the color red can make you hungry. So the idea that these types of things, there can be commonalities because our brains are human brains and they tend to connect in similar ways, also does not impress me. And hearing just do the research from a person who has no idea how much research I've done, the word research is silly anyway. Neither you nor I have done any research, but we've read research. Actually, I shouldn't say I have actually participated in university research. I've literally performed it, but not over the topic we're talking about right now. You aren't describing anything that baffles me or challenges me in any way. And I will tell you, from my experience and from everything that has ever been described to me, the chemically induced experiences I've had in the past are 100% consistent with the types of experiences you are saying, for some people, made them into believers. And it did not do that for me. And in some ways, strengthened certain ideas I had about what can just be attributed to the brain and the imagination.
Jimmy, I also am interested in if there is some sort of mystical higher power in some way, wouldn't you assume that they are powerful enough to provide that experience without a mind-altering chemical being added to your brain? Like, that also doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, no, and I agreed with Jimmy there that you don't necessarily have to take psychedelics. That psychedelics can be seen as a catalyst. That you already have, the most powerful psychedelic inside of you naturally, which is known as DMT or dimethyltryptamine. And, there's speculation that this is what's released during the NDE or during deep meditation, that it may have to do with your own natural production of DMT. But,
basically, we just have to end here because I just realized we're 2 minutes from having to move over to the other show anyway. So the fact of the matter is no actual causation has been demonstrated. Correlation, plenty. There isn't causation. And there are plenty of individuals, including people who sort of encourage people to maintain a concept of spirituality, even as an atheist, who have done these drugs. I bet you, like, I feel like I'm talking to a guy who's subscribed to Sam Harris everywhere. So I don't think you're unaware of this, because you just sound so much like a Sam Harris simp. But it doesn't matter. We got the Sunday show After Dark about to start. So go ahead and say goodbye, Jimmy, and we got to let you go.
All right. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to go on. But hey, man, if you ever get a chance to go to Peru and try ayahuasca, I would love to hear your.
You assume I haven't done ayahuasca. That's crazy. Did you drop that? I didn't even drop that one.
No, I didn't drop it.
Oh, somebody from the next show is probably getting a little
Oh, sorry, Jimmy.
Little antsy.
Jimi.
Yeah. Wasn't on purpose. Anyway, stick around. This is going to redirect back to the Sunday show After Dark. But before that happens, we should probably play our thing. We're going to record a little after show for y'all. We're going to be doing some Never Have I Ever, I think is what I'm down for. Where the F is my outro? There
I'm down. That's fun.
I am also down. But of course I am, because I'm the one who came up with it. Boy, that was a smooth fade in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe in all the places that you need to subscribe, and enjoy that redirect. You are headed over to the Sunday show After Dark. We love you. You're wonderful. Or not. You might suck. I don't know. I'm doing a whole call-in show just on people who want to debate whether I'm on Ozempic soon, though.
Ugh.
Let's just do that.
No.
No.
You're crazy.
Don't.
No.
I'm going to beat you up. She threatens to beat me up on this show all the time. She just throws a fist. That's right. That's right. Goodbye, everyone.